Hey there, English learners. Welcome to ML's English Podcast, where grammar gets easier, clearer, and a lot more fun. Today's lesson is all about relative pronouns. We'll break it down, simplify it, and make sure you leave with confidence. So grab your notebook, stay focused, and let's dive right in.
So, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like your English sounds a little robotic? You know, like this? I met a man. The man was nice. He gave me a pen. The pen was blue. I mean, it gets the point across, but it's definitely not smooth, is it? Yeah, these short, choppy sentences are a super common hurdle, but today we're going to leap right over it.
So instead of having two separate ideas, we can magically connect them into one single elegant sentence. I have found the pen which I lost. See that? That one little word which is the secret ingredient. That's a relative pronoun, and it's the tool that's going to help us build more complex and natural-sounding sentences. This is exactly what we're aiming for. Okay, so what exactly is a relative pronoun? Well, you can think of it as a hardworking, multitasking word. First, it acts as a pronoun, which means it stands in for a noun so you don't have to keep repeating yourself. And second, it acts as a conjunction, connecting two different ideas into one single sentence. It literally does double duty just to make your language flow beautifully. Now, here's a key piece of vocab we need to know. The word is antecedent. I know it sounds a bit fancy, but trust me, the idea is super simple. The antecedent is just the noun that the relative pronoun is talking about. So in a phrase like, the man who is my friend, the antecedent for who is simply man. Got it? Understanding this little connection is the foundation for getting all the rules right. All right, let's get into it. We'll start by mastering the most common pronouns out there: who, which, and that. Seriously, if you can get these three down, you are most of the way there. The basic rules are actually really straightforward. We use who for people, like in, the man who is honest is trusted. Simple. We use which for animals and things. For example, the books which help you most. And then we have that, which is kind of the flexible one. You can use it for both people and things. Easy, right? It's also pretty useful to know that who can change its form a little bit. If you want to show possession, you use whose, as in the person whose car is red. And then when it's the object of the verb, the really formal word is whom. But, and this is a big but, in modern English, we pretty much always just use who instead. So really, don't stress too much about using whom in a normal conversation. Okay, moving on to our next section, the comma rule. Now listen up, because this concept, the difference between defining and non-defining information, is maybe the most important one of all. Mastering this will make your English sound incredibly advanced. First up, we have what's called a defining clause. You can also call it a restrictive clause. This is a piece of information that is absolutely essential. It defines exactly which person or thing you're talking about. If you took it out, the sentence would just be confusing. And here's the crucial part. When the information is essential, you do not use commas. No commas. On the other hand, we have non-defining clauses. Now, the easiest way to think about this is as by the way information. You know, it's just extra detail that's nice to have, but it isn't essential to the main point of the sentence. You could totally remove it, and the sentence would still make perfect sense. And for this extra info, you must separate it with commas. This example right here shows you just how much a tiny comma can matter. It's amazing. Without commas, my brother, who is a doctor, means I have several brothers, and I'm talking specifically about the one who's a doctor. But add the commas, my brother, who is a doctor, and it suddenly becomes extra information about my one and only brother. A single comma completely changes the entire meaning. Powerful, isn't it? All right, you've got the core rules down. Now let's cover a few pro tips that will help you level up and sound even more natural and fluent when you speak. So while who and which are perfectly fine, native speakers will often prefer to use that in a few specific situations. For instance, after superlatives like the best or the wisest, or after words like all, same, and only, that just sounds a bit more natural. Same goes for questions that start with who or what, or when you're talking about a person and an animal or thing together, like the boy and his dog that... Here's a perfect example of that. He was the most eloquent speaker that I ever heard. See, most eloquent is a superlative, so using that here is definitely the preferred choice. I mean, you could say who, but that just sounds a little bit better to a native speaker's ear. It's a subtle trick, but it's really effective. Okay, our final pro tip is a really cool one. It's about something you can actually remove to sound more fluent. Sometimes you can just omit the relative pronoun completely. Here's how you know when. First, find the pronoun. Then ask yourself, is this pronoun the subject or the object of the verb that comes after it? If it's the object, you can usually just drop it. It's a game changer, especially in spoken English. Let's look at this example. This is the watch that you gave me. Okay, so that refers to the watch. What's the action here? You gave. Who's the subject doing the giving? You. What's the object being given? The watch, which is represented by that. So since our relative pronoun is the object, we can just drop it and say, this is the watch you gave me. It's faster, it's smoother, and it's super common. Whew, we've covered a lot of ground. So let's do a quick recap and review the essential tools for your new relative pronoun toolkit. To really master relative pronouns, just remember these 4 key takeaways. 1. Use who, which, and that to connect your ideas smoothly. 2. Use commas for that extra, by the way, non-defining info. 3. Use no commas for essential defining information. And 4. To sound extra fluent, drop that pronoun when it's the object.
So I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own writing or speaking. What short, choppy sentences can you find that you can now combine using these awesome new tools? Remember, the absolute best way to learn is to apply it, so go on and give it a try. Thanks for tuning in to ML's English Podcast. I hope today's lesson helped you take one more step toward mastering English. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll never miss any lesson. Have questions or grammar topics you'd like to learn next? Drop a comment below. I'm always listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and stay confident. See you soon.